Moro moro and welcome back to Culinary Roleplaying. I am still recovering from Ropecon, which was last weekend. Ropecon is the biggest convention concerning about tabletop role-playing games in Finland. In Ropecon I actually had a presentation about solo tabletop role-playing, what kind of forms solo tabletops have, and also I did a little demonstration using Oracle type of setup. And I think overall it went pretty well. And if you were watching there, thank you for being there. Kiitos, että olitte katsomassa. And once again, it was only possible for me to be there because of you guys and your continuous support for the channel, so thank you. Hopefully this channel keeps on growing, our guild keeps on growing, and we get the opportunities to do a lot more exciting things. Speaking of exciting things, today I just wanted to make a video where I talk about tabletop role-playing games, because now I've been looking into several new for me at least, fantasy tabletop role-playing games that I have been really excited about, and I wanted to share some ideas, some mechanics, and why I am excited about them. And now I want to throw in a challenge for you guys. The challenge is, I bet I will today introduce to you at least one tabletop RPG that you have never heard before. And if I win, if I introduce to you a completely new fantasy tabletop RPG that you have never heard before, you have to click that subscribe button and comment down below saying, "Oh, Master Walter, you have bested me." And if you win, you can comment down below and just say, "Better luck next time, Bucko," and give me a goblin nickname. So, the challenge has been thrown to you guys. Are you excited? So, today I want to talk about my top 4 fantasy tabletop RPGs that I am excited right now. One of them is an upcoming tabletop RPG that is not out yet, but I'm just excited to hear that this game will exist in the future and I want to check it out. 2 of these games are games that are out right now and you can actually play them right away. You can buy the books and start playing instantly. These are 2 systems that I'm reading right now and I'm really excited to play really soon. And the 4th system is something that will be probably really difficult for you guys to get into, but I just wanted to introduce you to that system anyway, because the more systems you know, the better, right? So, let's go. All right. Now I went to the wrong position. So first of all, I want to talk to you guys about a fantasy tabletop role-playing game that will come out in the future that has been announced. And that is from Mophidius Entertainment, who has done the 2D20 game system. So the Fallout tabletop role-playing game, Dishonored tabletop role-playing game, Achtung Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game, and also the second newest, and now I know that there is another Conan the Barbarian tabletop role-playing game coming right up, but before that the second most newest one is also published by Mophidius Entertainment. And Mophidius Entertainment has now get their hands into Heroes of Might and Magic IP, and that is something that I'm really excited about for numerous reasons. First of all, I think Mophidius does licensed games pretty well, just like Free League. And I have read quite many of their licensed games and I think they're quite okay. I have played a lot of Heroes 3 in my childhood, and the game itself is gonna focus on the lore of the games 1, 2 and 3. This means it will be the most vanilla high fantasy as you can get. And I love that aspect. I think that is surprisingly something that is kind of lacking right now in the high fantasy field of games. Because there are so many high fantasy games, people tend to want to create something really original or some twist or some spin into their own game, so it will change the world quite a lot. And I think the Heroes world, even though it's high fantasy, I think it's still like very classical in a sense that it has very traditional monsters, it has really traditional, like all the different ancestries and civilizations and all that stuff. So that's one reason I'm excited about the system. Another reason I'm excited about the system, on a base level, I enjoy the 2D20 system. I think it has a lot of potential. We have seen the Dune tabletop role-playing game. We have seen Achtung Cthulhu and the Conan games, and they are very distinct games in many senses. I really enjoy how, for example, in the Conan tabletop role-playing games, all the skills include a talent tree. I love that idea, and that's why it's very weird to me. Why hasn't Mofidius made an Elder Scrolls TTRPG already? Because they have at least the contacts to do so. They have the Skyrim adventure game, board game, and using the idea of skills having talent trees and the idea of Skyrim's like the skill talent progression would be a perfect combination. So it's so weird that they haven't done that already. But nevertheless, I think Heroes Might and Magic tabletop role-playing game has the same kind of potential as well. And while it being generic, I think it can be also a system that can be used to make your own fantasy worlds using the high fantasy system within the game. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what kind of system will this new Heroes Might and Magic TTRPG be. Yeah, and I'm interested to see how the 2D20 system will stretch out to this genre. Especially I'm interested to see how the magic will work. Now, these next two games that I will share with you are games that you can buy right now and start playing. These are systems that I have been reading right now and I'm really excited about. The first system is something that came into my radar again recently. It has been a system that I know that exists, but I've never had like a moment and thought that would have excited me enough to pick it up. I have been playing a lot of Dragonbane. Everybody knows that I've enjoyed Dragonbane quite a lot. But for me, Dragonbane is also a tad bit too simple, just a little bit. And also, I'm not really that excited about the D20 roll under system. I enjoy the roll under system, but like I enjoy more roll under systems that utilize other dice than D20. I have also played Mythras, and I have enjoyed playing Mythras as well, but for me Mythras is just a little bit too crunchy. It is interesting to play with that system, but for me it's too fiddly in a sense that I just would want to make a few rolls and move forward. So then I heard that there is a system that basically combines the ideas of Dragonbane and Mythras, and that game is Openquest 3rd edition. And Openquest is basically a more streamlined version of Mythras that uses many similar ideas that the Dragonbane uses. And to be clear, Openquest came before Dragonbane, so this is not like something that Openquest has taken the ideas from Dragonbane. Probably on the contrary, but for me the reading order has been Mythras, Dragonbane, and now Openquest. And for me, Openquest is like the perfect combination. The things I enjoy about Dragonbane and the things I enjoy about Mythras, and it's like this perfect combination of being a little bit more streamlined, still uses D100, not D20. It has more streamlined magic options that provide you the possibility to build your own stuff. It's still skill-based. It doesn't have hit locations, it only has the HP, the simplified HP. I enjoy that. I think that's a really nice thing. For that system, I think it works really well. And I also really enjoy the beginning fiddliness is not that unbearable. How you distribute your first skills and get those extra skills, it's much more faster and snappier than in Mythras, where you have to like pick on everything like with point by like percent by percent. That's something that I'm not a big fan of. But it's fine to increase your skills after you have created your character. But yeah, the Mythras character creation can be a little bit fiddly Openquest streamlines that, takes a lot of ideas from Dragonbane, and also the Dragonbane's idea of like heroic abilities kind of apply into Openquest. Openquest has basically this personal magic system where every character can have this kind of like heroic abilities, extra stuff that they can do. There can be healing, they can put a flame on their sword, and varied kinds of things. But the game also says that you can flavor these things not to be magical. If you want to have like a low magic world, you can just say that no, these are actually not like personal magic. It's just like techniques, or it's some kind of abilities that these characters can do. And I really enjoy that aspect. It gives new characters more options than Dragonbane from the start, but it's not that overwhelming like Mythras is with all their spirit magics, divine magics, arcane magics, with its folk magic. I think it is basically like the personal magic in Mythras. So it has a lot of, it is streamlined, like it says that it tries to be more simpler Mythras, or more simpler D100 fantasy playing. And I think it does just that very well, and I am really excited to try to play it out. I'm probably gonna make how it plays about it. But yeah, Openquest. If you enjoy Mythras but think it's a little bit too crunchy, if you enjoy Dragonbane but want a little bit more and not maybe D20, Openquest 3rd edition, check it out, it's really good. The next game I wanted to talk about is a game that I just happened to find randomly while just scanning through DriveThruRPG. I expected nothing of it. It just seemed interesting enough, and when I read the comments, there were like 4 comments maybe, but all of them giving raving reviews, and all of them saying things like, I have played like many fantasy RPGs through my life, but this was the one, and this has changed completely the way I see fantasy tabletop role-playing games. And I was like, okay, now I have to at least check this game out, because the people who have read the system clearly are raving about it. So I had to see what's this all about. And the game I want to talk about is Crimson Exodus. Crimson Exodus is created and written by Klaus Björnik, maybe Björnik. I'm sorry if I have butchered your last name. But what Klaus have done here, I have to say, it's quite impressive. I haven't played it yet, but I have been reading it through, and I've been thinking that it's quite fresh. I have also read many fantasy TTRPGs, and it definitely has a fresher take on things. For starters, the dice mechanics of this game. It kind of reminds me of the Genesis dice system, but completely not a thing. But basically the same idea is that you have attributes and skills. Your attribute can be something from between 1 to 5. Let's say your attribute is 2. This is basically your base amount of dice you will roll. This is kind of like a dice pool game. So yeah, if my agility would be 2, then that would mean I will roll 2 dice. Then my skill is a die size. So let's just say that we have something relating to agility. I don't remember how the correlations were, so I might be wrong, but I think there is agility and dexterity, and stealth might be in agility, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong, don't quote me. But just for sake of example, let's just say our stealth is D8. So now on a base, I would roll 2d8 because our agility is 2 and our skill is d8. We would roll 2d8 and we will roll both the dice, and the biggest die result is the score. So the difficulties are from 2 to 12. Let's check up on that. Yeah, 2 to 12. So at maximum on a base level we could get 8 from our skill. But here's the catch. We could remove 1 die, so we could roll only 1 die, but then we can step up the dice. So then we could roll only one d10. Or we could do the opposite. We could lower our dice score from d8 to d6. Then we can add one dice. So depending on your skill and your attribute, you can actually change how many dice do you throw and what type of dice do you throw. And if you throw more dice, you have greater chance of getting the maximum result of the die, but the maximum result is lower. And if you roll fewer dice, the probability of getting higher score is lower, but the maximum score you can get gets bigger. Very interesting indeed. And then there is also, in addition, that if you get two of the same, if you decided to roll a 3d6 and you roll 2 6s and 1 4, for example, those 2 6s with a pair would get +2 to that because you get the two of the same. So then you actually would add +2 to the 6. So the final score would be 6 + 2, 8. Very interesting, kind of simple. It creates so much flexibility into the system. And then when you get like advantages, you can add dice. And when you get disadvantages, you remove dice from the dice pool. So yeah, on a base level, I haven't tried it yet. I haven't played it yet. I will definitely do a how it plays of this. But on a base level, it sounds very intriguing, and it gives you, with the simple step system, a lot of variabilities that you can add and distract, and it still feels like that I'm not just counting in modifiers, I'm just counting in dice. So it feels that there's a lot of potential. Another interesting aspect in this system is how wounds work. So basically, your weapons have a like tier of how grievous your wound is. There's like a grim wound, a deadly wound, and they are basically just different tiers of wound. And you don't have like hit points per se. You just accumulate these wounds into different body parts, as you can see. Like there, but I can just, yeah, it's there. So here we have like the different locations that you are hit with the attack, and then you have the different wounds. And then there's first like severity and location. And then it will detail the trauma. So if you are cut by a blade, it is a different kind of trauma than hitting with a blunt weapon. And then it can create fractures, it can create internal bleeding, it can also probably create bleeding and maybe infection in the future. First I was like, that is so much stuff that I need to write down just from one wound. Like, oh my god, this is gonna take forever when I'm in combat. But then I realized it. Even getting one of these is a huge thing. So when in combat, yes, it is difficult to write down like this very detailed trauma that you will get from an attack, but your character is probably out of the picture after that. So I think they have bumped up the quality and detail versus just having a lot of wounds and a lot of hits within combat. So most of the time you will either block the attack or you will get hit from one of these wounds and probably be out of the game, or at least be heavily in disadvantage while in that combat. So I didn't mind the amount of detail every wound has, because it becomes very important and it is something that you have to use so much time to clear. And that makes combat really dangerous. And that becomes something that you want to evade at every cost. And it really creates the sense that this could be it. Like, if I get hit in a combat, that's it. That's the end of me. I think it can really pay back. Like, the value you get out of those wounds can be really good. So I don't mind it for now, at least. I'm intrigued to see how that will actually like play out. The magic is really interesting in the system. It has 3 kinds of magic, I think. Like dark arts, black magic, sorcerer's magic, which is kind of like arcane magic, and then we have spirit magic, which is so interesting. It is basically like this kind of shamanistic magic where you will use like life energy, spirit energy to power up your spells. Like literally you have to let your own blood if you want to cast a spell, or you have to make a some kind of sacrifice. So like offering life energy and blood to actually heal wounds, it's really interesting idea, and that you will require to have some kind of like fresh blood or something like that in order to even do the things. And what is interesting in that as well is that it wasn't like pictured within the system that this is like the blood magic or like this kind of sacrilegious bad magic, like spirit magic bad. No, it was like, this is how the spirit world works, and you have to offer up life energy in order to make these things happen. And it's like very neutral. I enjoy the idea that it doesn't portray the spirit magic, even though you use like a life force as this kind of fuel to fuel up your spells, and that would mean living sacrifices. It doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, or it like is treated as a neutral thing, which is very interesting aspect, that it's not that black and white. And a fourth aspect that is really interesting about this system is how the stat blocks are made. Let me show you. This is how you write up NPCs. We have name, we have pair of dice, and possibly some kind of weapon and the severity of that weapon. That's on a base level. The NPC stat dice, and they will roll all the things they are good at with that, and if they are bad at something, they will roll at lower rate. But that's it. One stat die thing, and you can just deal everything with that. And then you might have some additional information about the NPC. I love it. I love the simplicity. I love the possible complexity that you can use with that stat. But I also love the simplicity, because then the wound levels and all that stuff, they are the same thing. You just write down, player makes a grievous wound. Okay, it is a grievous wound to that location, and it always does the universal things that will equally fudge people up in the same way. And it's like certain level, you might get stunned, or the enemy might get stunned, so they are like shaken from the hit and will lose some dice from their roll, and then when they get grievously injured, they will lose additional dice. So, and you can just reduce them from the stats, so you can lower the skill, like if they have like 2d10, you can lower it down to d6 and then take the dice away, and then they have 2d6 anymore. Like, you know, very simple, clear, concise NPCs. As a solo player, I love this. This is amazing. This is amazing that you can have these NPCs basically written into your notes, and you can put the stats right behind them, like right away. It's amazing. This has so much potential to be this kind of a little bit more crunchier fantasy game to solo. And that's why I'm really excited to play it at some point. I will definitely make a how it plays out of this system. So stay tuned for that. And it's been like around from 2013, so I don't know. That just shows how many games are out there that I had no idea existed. I definitely want to try it out. That's 3 down, and finally I want to talk about one more fantasy TTRPG system that I'm excited about, and I'm reading it right now. But it is something that might be quite difficult for you guys to get a hold of. And I'm talking about PRAEDOR. Here we go. And this is the adventurer's book for PRAEDOR. PRAEDOR is actually a Finnish fantasy tabletop role-playing game. And it has very many interesting qualities. It's been created by Ville Vuorela and also Petri Hiltunen, who is the creator of the world. PRAEDOR is also like this kind of comic and book series as well that contains many different stories. Basically, it is a fantasy world where all the magic users are these ancient internal beings that have basically screwed over the world. Like, you only have this, I think it's called Jaconia, right? Yakonia, yeah, it's basically, this is the world that is left. And everything surrounding that area is just like this endless ruined cities that is full of corruption and danger. And basically this is kind of this final pocket of civilization that still exists. And the whole other world is like screwed over. This is interesting in a way that you can start your adventures within that one location, and then you can probably, like, as a GM, you can use your imaginations and think about maybe there are other civilized pockets out there that are also surrounded by these ruins. Like, what is out there? You get so much narrative potential from that to start creating your own things as well. And I really enjoy how freaking sword and sorcery this game is. The game full on says players can't be mages. They just can't. They might have a blood of this kind of mage ascension, so they might be able to detect magic and detect artifacts, but they can't cast spells. Nobody can be wizard in this game, and I love it. I love the idea that all the wizards, all the mage users are these kind of eternal beings that have had the time to like actually read the book, and all the spells are basically up to the GM to flavor. There are mechanics how players can defend against different kinds of magical attacks, but there are not like spell lists. There are nothing like that. What aspect is basically subjugating the spellcasting is alchemy. So there are some potions, elixirs and all that kind of stuff that the players can create, and there are magical items, but you can't cast spells as an adventurer or as a player. And I really enjoy that commitment. I think it's really good that we have these kind of systems still, that really, because so many fantasy systems are like, yeah, players want to cast magic, so we should let them. And this book is like, nope, no they can't. They need to figure it out on their own. And I also really enjoy the dice system. It's a D6 system which is kind of like GURPS, but not even close. So basically you have your different attributes and you have your skills, which are a score from, I think they are from around 2 to 20 maybe? I don't quite remember which was the scale. But anyway, then you will roll D6s depending on the difficulty of the task. So it could be 1d6, which is like really easy, or 5d6. And basically you roll these dice, and if that score you get from rolling those dice is under your skill score, you will succeed. So this is similar to GURPS, where you roll 3d6 and you try to roll under your skill. But here the difficulty determines how many d6s you will roll. I think that's a really interesting way to put things. And for example, the different aspects and advantages and disadvantages can either add more dice to the difficulty or take away from the difficulty. So it is this kind of, how it's this kind of anti-dice pool, where you try to take the dice out of the pool as much as possible. So there could be situations where you have like a skill over 6 and you would roll only 1 die, then you just succeed, because it's like you can't fail. Only if it's at least normal difficulty, when there is 2d12, then there is always possibility that you will roll double 6s, and that is like a critical fail. So then you will roll dice anyway. But yeah, I don't think unfortunately, I don't think there is like a translated version to English from PRAEDOR, so that's why I'm like, this might be more difficult for you to get into. As a TTRPG enthusiast and creator myself, I think PRAEDOR is really interesting, and I could maybe make a how it plays out of it and try to solo it for you guys. That would be crazy. That would be actually kind of interesting to do. Leave down comment down below if you want to see me do PRAEDOR, a random Finnish tabletop role-playing game for you guys to see. But that's it. Those are the games that I am really excited about right now. Did I beat you in our little challenge? Did I give you some new TTRPG that you haven't heard before? Or did you know all of this and just completely wiped me out? I want to thank my Culinary Roleplaying Guild members again for making these videos possible. And the more you guys are there, the more time I can dedicate into this. And trust me when I say, so humbling to see our guild growing day by day and getting your guys' positive comments on how you enjoy my content. Thank you. That I will say that is the thing that really keeps me going. I enjoy making these videos, but whenever I see a comment where you say, oh, that was so nice that you did this, thank you, I'm really excited to see more about this. Those are the things that really like make me want to sit down and put content out there even more sooner. So keep on subscribing, keep on commenting, keep on being my guild member, and I promise you, I will deliver. But that's all for me today. Hopefully I see you in my future videos. And now it's moro moro.